In March 1997, police officers entered a quiet mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California, responding to a tip about a possible mass suicide. Inside, they discovered a shocking scene: 39 bodies, dressed identically in black shirts and sweatpants, lying neatly on beds and covered with purple shrouds. Each wore the same brand of sneakers, Nike Decades, and had taken their lives peacefully and with precision. The group was known as Heaven's Gate, a cult whose strange mix of Christian prophecy, UFO beliefs, and New Age spirituality captivated and disturbed the world. Heaven's Gate was founded in the 1970s by Marshall Herff Applewhite, a former music teacher from Texas, and Bonnie Nettles, a nurse with interests in the occult and mysticism. Together, they believed they had a divine mission: to guide chosen people to salvation through ascension to a higher dimension, a place they called the next level. They referred to themselves as the Two, a reference to the biblical two witnesses from Revelation. According to their teachings, Earth was a garden being replanted, and only a select few could escape the cycle of death and rebirth. Human bodies, they said, were vehicles that housed souls, and the time had come to leave them behind. In the late 1970s, Applewhite and Nettles, now going by Do and T, traveled across the country holding meetings. They preached that a spacecraft would soon arrive to take true believers to the next level. Dozens were drawn in, many of them highly intelligent but spiritually searching individuals. Followers abandoned their families, jobs, and possessions. They lived communally, dressed in genderless uniforms, and adopted unisex names. The group prohibited sex, drugs, alcohol, and even strong emotional attachments. Over time, members were pushed further into isolation and obedience. Despite their strange beliefs, Heaven's Gate was not violent. Members lived quietly, working legitimate jobs, including tech support and web design. Their business, Higher Source, funded their communal lifestyle. The group suffered a major blow in 1985 when Nettles died of cancer. This challenged their theology: how could a divine being die? Applewhite reinterpreted the event, saying she had exited her vehicle and returned to the next level. From then on, Applewhite became the sole leader. He grew increasingly controlling, refining the group's doctrine into something darker. No longer was the ascension purely spiritual. The physical body had to be left behind through death. Some members even underwent voluntary castration to remain celibate, including Applewhite himself. They believed that to fully shed their human form, they had to remove every trace of desire. In 1996, the arrival of the Hale-Bopp comet became the catalyst for Heaven's Gate's final act. A conspiracy theory emerged that a spacecraft was traveling behind the comet. Applewhite claimed this was the sign they had awaited. Their ride to the next level had come. The group prepared for what they called their final exit. Over the following months, they filmed farewell messages, expressing calm joy and certainty about what was to come. They believed death was not the end, but a transfer, a boarding of a cosmic vessel that would take them to a higher existence. In March 1997, they carried out their plan. Members took phenobarbital mixed with applesauce or pudding, washed down with vodka. They then placed plastic bags over their heads to ensure asphyxiation. The act was done in waves over 3 days, with surviving members carefully arranging the bodies until they, too, took their lives. Applewhite died among the final group. The discovery of the bodies, identical clothing, serene expressions, and eerie symbolism made headlines around the world. The public was horrified yet fascinated. Heaven's Gate didn't fit the mold of violent cults like Jonestown. Its members were educated, peaceful, and polite. And yet, their beliefs had led them to orchestrate their own deaths with chilling order. Their website, still live today, preserves their teachings. Maintained by 2 anonymous former members, it includes writings, videos, and instructions, a digital shrine to a belief system that still puzzles experts. What made Heaven's Gate unique was not just its blend of religious fervor and science fiction, but its prescient use of early internet culture, marketing, and digital aesthetics. They were among the first cults to use the internet to recruit and spread their message, positioning themselves as modern seekers of truth in a corrupted world. Heaven's Gate remains one of the most striking and tragic examples of how deeply the human need for meaning, belonging, and transcendence can lead to manipulation and devastation. The group's peaceful demeanor masked deep psychological control, and their spiritual yearning became a pathway to self-destruction. As fringe movements continue to grow in the digital age, the lessons of Heaven's Gate are more relevant than ever. It was not madness alone that brought them to that mansion in Rancho Santa Fe. It was belief, nurtured over decades, and reinforced by isolation, obedience, and a charismatic leader who promised them the stars.